of attractiveness, the same level of standard that can be presented to the world.
And what's the mechanism for the standard? Perhaps I'm seeing here that a group of capital market experts, they have been developed to help oversee that things are going according to plan. We're hearing about the group of experts, the GOE. Can you tell us about them and their roles in this?
Well, we developed, the implementation plan with the help of the Asian Development Bank, and we hire, some experts to help us in drafting the plan. But we were very mindful of, to make sure that the plan is not something suitable only to the regulators. We want to make sure that the plan is actually something that can be used by the private sector, and this is why we engage in, we set up a group of experts to steer the process. This group of experts consists of people like Mr. Jose Camacho, who was the former Finance Secretary of the Philippines.
Yes.
Mr. Piyush Gupta, who is now the CEO of DBS, which is the biggest bank in Singapore. Dato Tiala Nathan, who's a director of the Genting Group, one of the biggest groups in Malaysia, and also in Thailand we have Mr. Banjong Pongpanit, chairman of Patra Securities, and this group of experts review the progress that we make to make sure that first the plan fits in with the needs of the private sector, but also they also challenge us, to make sure that our plans are ambitious enough, and that we're clear as to our mandates and our aims.
Right, and that also, I believe, capital market experts invited as so-called national experts as well to oversee that everything goes according to plan. And it's very interesting that you brought up the ADB. What are their roles in this? They're also bringing expertise, I believe. Yes,
well, they brought in, two aspects of help. First, they provide us with some very excellent people, who also join in the intellectual side in order to draft the plan. But also importantly, they provided us with the financial side, the financial help, to engage, to hire the consultants to help draw up the plan, but also to pay for the meetings with the groups of experts in order to help us along.
Right, and we're also seeing very broad themes here, three main broad themes coming from this implementation plan, creating an enabling environment for regional integration, as well as creating the market infrastructure and regionally focused products and intermediaries, and also strengthening the implementation process as well. So we do have a clear structure right here. Now, all this implementation plan will be geared towards the establishment of the ASEAN Economic Community by the year 2015, and there's a lot more to discuss. We're seeing ASEAN and Plus standards. We're also seeing the collective investment schemes, the CIS. What does all this mean? We'll come back and we'll get the answers from you very shortly after this break. Welcome back to the program. Today we focus on ASEAN Capital Markets integration that will lead to an AEC 2015, and there's also a very important meeting coming up, and that is the ASEAN Capital Market Forum. We'll discuss that further with our guest today, Thirachai SG. He's the Secretary General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and he's also the Chair of the ASEAN Capital Markets Forum. Now, standards are so very important, and making sure that it is of a standard that is accepted globally, internationally, regionally to begin with. And we're talking about the CG principles. Could you clarify what that is?
Well, our aim is to make, as I say, ASEAN as an asset class that is viewed, to be world class in the eyes of the investors, both within the region and also outside. So we have to make sure that the products are of good quality. And being of good quality means it must, the companies that issue these securities must be well managed. Well, it must not only be well managed in the economic sense, but perhaps more importantly, it must be well managed in the honesty sense, integrity sense. It must have good corporate governance practice. And here, we are starting out in this year and next. We are going to, for the first time, do what is called corporate governance report ranking.
So that's the CG ranking.
That's right, the CG report ranking of companies across ASEAN. Well, in some countries, this CG report ranking is already done on the domestic market, but this will be the first time that we do it across, the whole of ASEAN, across borders, and we will rank companies not based on size. We will rank the company not based on profitability, but based on whether it upholds and reports to the principles of good corporate governance. So that's going to be an important move.
Who's monitoring that?
We are going to discuss as to whom, but we are setting up a group of corporate governance experts from each country, and we will decide in this meeting as to who will be the corporate entity that will be issuing the result. But it will be done in close liaison with, again, the Asian Development Bank, and they will tap expertise that had been the world standard bearer of corporate governance, and that's the OECD, the OECD group. So with that we are going to have the yardstick to measure the various companies that will be acceptable, not only within ASEAN but also worldwide.
Right.
But in addition to that, I envisage that we will also need to make sure that we survey practices and regulations of each of the ASEAN countries on the regulation of related party transactions within the companies that issue securities that are related to the major shareholders or related to the principal executives of those companies, as well as the role and the responsibility of the independent directors of these companies, to make sure that there is enough check and balance that exist in these companies. So, so that's the way we aim, to have our products to be of good quality in terms of corporate governance.
Hopefully we can see a solid structure there, the mechanism on how to oversee that, how to measure that, the corporate governance principles. Now, you talked about checks and balances and also surveying parties, best practices, etc. When it comes to a meeting, a forum, it's always a good idea to share experiences and show off what best practices are so that other nations can follow and do that. So hopefully work towards a more a solid path here. And we're also talking about the sharing of information, and we're hearing about ASEAN and Plus standards. Can you tell us about this, please?
Well, this is the next step. Once we are satisfied that we have good investment products, we have to make sure also that the information that is discloses when it offers securities to sale to the public is on the same standard in all countries. So
and that won't be a problem. Well, that won't be a problem in terms of the varying degrees of development and the standards.
Well, this is the problem. Well, this has been the problem because
it's a challenge, isn't it?
Well, it turned out that once when we had a look at the practices that existed,